that front. And that front is the family, it's the job, it's the kids, it's the all-American look, right? But there's this dark side that he has.
How did he have all of these hidden deviancies that no one had discovered in all of these years? And he was able to just keep that completely on the side. And now we see these horrific internet searches and all of the things that are actually part of the evidence. And how was he able to hide that for so long? And was there at some point a form of escalation or maybe a rapid unraveling of his mental state that people didn't catch?
And if they can track him, they can definitely find out that he didn't start in his late 40s, that he may have started in his 30s or in his 20s, depending on where he went to college, depending on where he was living, if he's living in an apartment, all those things they look into if they're actually going to get to the bottom of all the individuals he may have killed.
Of course, they're all talking about the accused Long Island serial killer scheduled to be in court early next week. Court TV legal correspondent Julie Janae has more tonight.
To announce the indictment of defendant Rex Andrew Heuermann, 59 years of age. He's been arrested by the Suffolk County Police Department's homicide detectives, and he's been indicted for the murders of Melissa Bartholomew, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello.
On July 13, 2023, architect Rex Heuermann was arrested in connection with 3 of the Gilgo Beach murders and remains a prime suspect in the killing of Maureen Brainard Barnes. For more than a decade, the bodies unearthed on Gilgo Beach in New York terrified residents. 9 women, a man, and a toddler were discovered, and police believe Heuermann is connected to 4.
Rex Heuermann is a demon that walks among us, a predator that ruined families.
During a training exercise on December 11, 2010, the remains of Melissa Bartholomew were discovered. 2 days later, the remains of Maureen, Megan, and Amber were all found. All 4 victims were petite females believed to be sex workers, missing clothes, and bound in a similar fashion. They were killed by homicide. Before their disappearance, they had been contacted by a person using a burner phone.
For each of the murders, he got an individual burner phone, and he used that to communicate with the victims. Then shortly after the death of the victims, he then would get rid of the burner phone.
According to the phone records, investigators believed the serial killer lived in Massapequa Park and worked in Midtown Manhattan near Penn Station. They discovered Heuermann had access to several burner phones, and the calls were made inside what police called the box. Their suspect would also make sadistic calls near his office to the victims' families, with one particular call asking Bartholomew's teenage sister, quote, "Do you think you'll ever speak to her again?"
They had these phone records from day one. As you mentioned, they had the description of the guy, the car. They had all the information they needed.
A key detail in the investigation would be buried for years as a police chief was arrested for obstruction of justice. But in March of 2022, weeks after a new task force formed, an investigator found a witness description of a man matching Heuermann's characteristics at Amber Costello's home.
That individual was identified as a person who was between 6'4" and 6'6". A large man. Also of significance was the fact that he was driving a dark-colored, black, first-generation Chevrolet Avalanche.
Investigators would later find Heuermann's Chevy Avalanche in South Carolina.
One of the things that we did is we followed him because we wanted to get an abandonment sample of his DNA.
Investigators collected Heuermann's DNA from a discarded pizza crust and linked him to a hair found on a burlap covering Megan Waterman's remains. The investigation continues with the search of Heuermann's home and the possibility of other murder charges. He claims he is innocent and has an attorney who says he did not commit these murders.
In terms of speaking to my client, the only thing I can tell you that he did say as he was in tears was, "I didn't do this."
So what is this trial going to look like? What is this defense going to be? Bernard Villalona, let's start with the trial. What do you think this trial looks like?
This trial is going to be a media circus, Vinny. I can tell you probably at every court hearing that takes place having to deal with Rex Heuermann, that is going to be packed with media present. I'm hoping that whoever the judge that is assigned to this case will allow cameras in the courtroom so it can be televised, this trial, because it's important not just to those family members of those that were found and those bodies that were found in Long Island, but also to that community and people here in New York and just all over that were scared for many years, thinking of, is there a serial killer? Is this serial killer the person that's next to me? And finally, he has been apprehended. But it's definitely going to be a media circus. In terms of what his defense is going to be, hey, it wasn't me.
It wasn't, yeah, it wasn't me. It was somebody else, right? Ben, how do you think both sides should prepare for all of this? Because as Bernard has said, I mean, we've got a hearing coming up next week. Every time something's happening in court, everyone's going to be there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. It sounds like from what we've heard that there isn't an enormous amount of forensic evidence. So I think his counsel may focus on the lack of actual evidence linking him to these horrendous murders.
Brian Watkins, unbelievable, right? A New York serial killer, and we're solving the case with the pizza crust. And I don't even know if it's New York style. It looks a little thick from here.
You know, it is a circumstantial case, but here's the problem for the defense with a circumstantial case like this. When you got a lot of circumstantial evidence, it puts the ball in the defendant's court to explain that stuff. Why is a hair fiber DNA on this blanket with this buried girl? Why is all this crazy porn stuff on your internet? Why are you researching this killing of these girls that we're charging you with? Why that was such an interest to you that you're doing Google searches for it? He needs to explain that stuff. It will not be enough for him to get up there and just say, whatever the prosecution just told you, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that's not enough. I didn't do it. That's not going to work. He's going to need to get up on that stand and explain that stuff. And if he can't do it, he's done, because he's already not likable.
Bernarda, under New York law, do you think he'll be able to be tried as a serial killer and not break this up into separate trials so the jury has blinders on and doesn't know the full picture?
So, Vinny, he is going to be tried as a serial killer. The name of the charge is not serial killer. It's actually murder in the first degree. So in New York, murder in the first degree, by definition alone, if a person kills 2 or more people in different transactions within 24-month period with a similar common plan or scheme, then those homicides can be tried together. So the law itself is going to allow for these 3 homicides to be tried in front of the same jury. And that's why it makes a huge difference that he was charged as a serial killer under the same common scheme that was found with the different bodies, because it's now going to be separated. So we're looking forward to this trial. Even though he's charged with murder in the first degree, just remember the most he's going to face is life without the possibility of parole here in New York under state law.
All right, as we said, we got a hearing coming up in the case. Let the circus begin. Tuesday, we've got a hearing in the case of the suspected Long Island serial killer.